go that easy. Are we ready to go back?
Yes.
We're going back into active work session. We just came out of closed session. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ackles.
Present.
Councilman Bartolone.
Here.
Councilwoman Husky. Here. Councilman Pedro.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. Councilman Aguilera.
Here.
Mayor Munoz.
Here. I'm just going to go quickly to the work session consent agenda. If you just take a look if anybody has any questions or comments or want to discuss any of those specifically. If not, could someone make a motion to approve the work session consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. For administrative topics, DOT municipal aid application, Bogart Road, Howland to Route 4. Mr. Negrin.
Mayor, if I may, thank you for inviting Robert Costa, Borough Engineer, to be with us tonight. We have an announcement from the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation that their municipal aid program is open for applications, and Mr. Costa's office has always assisted the borough in obtaining these grants through the application process. He's here tonight to discuss conceptually what type of an application we might put in for the next round of funding.
Mr. Costa.
That's it. Back and forth with Mr. Negrian to come up with a project. Basically, we thought, should we continue with Fifth Avenue, since now we went from the high school south to just south of Midland, and we said no. After careful debate, the parking situation on Bogart Road between Route 4 to Howland, because of the apartments, is incredible. So our thought process was instead of having parallel parking, angled parking. Go to the state, put in for that, and start phasing that up where you can create more parking for the apartments. Whether or not that makes sense or not, that's why we're here tonight. But I would think overall it's probably somewhere around a $2 million project in total, and we would do the same thing as we did on Howland or Fifth, go in phases. Based on some preliminary discussions, and Mayor, I don't know if you had the same discussions, next year they might double up the amount of municipal aid to the towns. If that happens, we're probably looking close to maybe $300,000. So take that number and project it out, and that's where I think we could finish the project.
Did we engage you to do some survey work? Did you start anything on that?
We just started some preliminary work. We did not come up with the right-of-way widths yet, so I don't know what we need. I think we can fit it in there with any acquisition. Again, I would think we should sit down with the apartments to make sure that they're
Because what I was envisioning, we don't really want to go too far into the right of way. We probably can do it, take away the parking on the west side,
Right.
and still have a two-way
traffic. Right.
and then it may not cost what you.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing we want to do is do any acquisition work, because obviously that would defeat the
Because
purpose.
we're just talking about redoing the curb line.
Correct. Straight curb, don't sawtooth the curb, just a straight curb, but angle, obviously paint and angle the spaces where we.
Councilman Bisbee.
How many more spaces are we looking at by angling that length of street?
I think we could pick up at least 30% to 40% more. I haven't laid it out yet, but I think that's probably a pretty good number. Probably be 60-degree parking, and I
You
think,
can at least get at least 2 to 1.
yeah. I don't know if you're going to get 2 for every car that's there. I don't think you're going to get that much. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you got 20, you
Right.
got 22 feet per linear parallel space.
Right.
You get
But you have some telephone poles we got to work around. There is some other stuff there. I mean, I think realistically 40% is probably a good number, but I think that would definitely help the situation on that roadway.
Instead of doing more survey at this point, would you just be able to do a quick takeoff and just
Yes.
lay it out so we have an idea?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilman Rowley, you had a question?
No, it was the same question.
Anybody else have any?
I have a question. Why do you think it's going to cost $2 million? Can you explain your thinking behind that cost?
Well, I mean, by the time you, I mean, we would put in for everything we do, paving, curbs, sidewalks. You're going to have to move the curb over. You're going to have to actually build a roadway where the sidewalks are now. So the costs are going to be definitely much higher than just doing regular.
So you're saying actually move the curb in?
Yes.
I didn't get that part.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, that's why the survey report, because I don't know how much we may even need to. It's actually pretty wide over there. So,
You're saying eliminate the parking on one side totally?
And you would be able to move,
And the other
because
side is
there
on the
are
far
encroachments,
side.
there's trees and stuff on the other side, and you don't want to have to get into property takings or construction.
I mean, if you did, that's a whole different story. If you did that, and eliminate,
So, but I think before the whole plan goes forward, we just need to know conceptually that it works. And
All right.
$2 million scares me.
Yeah,
It
makes
does.
me
So,
well, the good news is it's not, it would be the state's money.
but we don't have 20 years, we don't have 20 years to wait for it either. You know,
Yeah,
so-
because you're saying 300,000 times, then we're talking about 7 years. If
That's
they
how long
fund at that level.
Well, Howland, we just put in for discretionary. Hopefully, we sat with Rich Lovelace, which runs local aid at this point. Alan and myself sat with him probably, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We put in for discretionary. He said there's a chance we're going to get that and Howland would be finished. And again, it went over time, but the road will be done from Kinderkamak to the Paramus
We
border.
can't wait 10 years.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Do we get to decide whether we start at Howland and go down to Route 4, or do we get to decide that?
The limits of the project, if you tell me to go forward, we would put in from Route 4, Marginal Road, to Howland.
I just wonder if the greatest impact is going to be starting at Howland and going down.
You could do it either way.
That's my
Yeah,
question.
and
Do you have the
probably-
ability,
You have the ability, as long as it's within the project limits that we tell the state, you can use the funds in any direction you desire.
And you're envisioning the slanted parking the entire length from Howland to Route 4, or just a specific portion?
It would depend on how it lays out, I think. I'll have to look at that. Okay.
I mean, I envision a lot of different things. Landscape islands in the center, but again, a lot of that stuff,
Well, but that goes to your public council, the
a
other.
lot of that stuff aggravates the administrator.
No,
so-
but I think the council was having a discussion here. I think that if we do look at this and it's feasible, the apartments themselves may decide they want to put some parking in areas where they have available space also. So, it could also help them take some of their traffic and put it there. It gives us more on-street. I think it's a good thing.
I always said, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Negrian, the gift you should give the apartments is the circle at Oxford. Give it to them. And just put that little piece of road in, and we maintain the road and give them the rest of that property and let them
They
build some
park there now,
parking in
don't
there.
they?
Well, let them build some parking.
So make it a parking lot. Close it off as a road. And
Well, because it splits. There's
Yeah.
actually a split there.
So,
It's painted for the fire department.
Right.
I'm sure we would be able to work with them.
Right.
Even if it's really-
I think all these things are worth exploring.
I think it's something we really should be doing.
There's a gift that you could just give them tomorrow morning and say, here it is, here's your gift, take it, and good luck.
To come back into the topic at hand, we have a deadline of October 6th. We have a deadline of October 6th, so we'd like to have you back here on September 5th.
No
with
problem.
all the information.
No problem.
So
We'll come up
that
with
you
some
get
concepts.
authority to
It's
go
gotta
ahead and
be
file the
more than the
application.
time, I mean, we need to know realistically, lay it out so so council can see it, and, a good idea on the cost. Because
And also the Oxford Terrace, if you want to explore that too. I personally think that's something to explore, not necessarily that we're going to do it, but see if they want it, and if so, would this be something that would have to
I would
grant?
recommend we make that a separate discussion.
Yes, no, but I
Because
think,
we need
but
to
I think to the council's
get
point,
this
Rob
done.
can certainly look at that at the same time. It's
Yeah,
not
so,
that-
I mean, that's an easy term.
We don't need survey work or anything like that, so. All right, okay.
So,
Do we have any else?
Yes, so we have two other topics for Mr. Costa.
Status of developer escrow?
Yes, Rob, we have three outstanding developer escrow accounts. We have Route 4 Main Street. We have an outstanding balance, $816.09. We have Yeshiva.
Alan, I'm not sure which, was that, Route 4?
Hoffman Cruz, yeah. The
Oh.
whole development.
Okay, that's Route 4 Main Street.
Right, so, is that complete?
The only thing-
You haven't signed off on that yet.
I know I haven't, and I know we go back and forth on this. The way the statute is written, and I'm not sure if it's correct or not. Any developer that comes in, once the improvement is accepted, then the developer has to go on a maintenance bond for 2 years. And maybe through the borough attorney, I believe they should keep that escrow in play. This way, if something happens, or there's final inspections prior to the explanation of the maintenance bond, there's their escrow money up in order to go do whatever. Go after the bond, go after them, but I guess that's the
You
question.
want to keep both? You want to get a maintenance bond and keep the escrow for the life of the maintenance bond?
In order to pay whoever, whether it's administratively, whether it's myself, whether it's DPW. I don't know why the taxpayer would
They
have to.
can practice without a license. Public Laws of 95, Chapter 54, professional charges for review of applications, review and preparation of documents, and inspections of development under construction. That's what the purpose of the escrow is.
Then what you
I
do.
think we're beyond that.
Well, no, but I think to Mr. Const's point is that in the future developers agreements, we just add an escrow. When you close out the performance bond, you
Right.
close out that, and then when you get a maintenance bond, you have to put escrow.
Because technically, they're on the hook for 2 years.
But there's usually not much that's going to come up. It's more of an insurance for the
But if you
borough.
really want to police this and maintain it, shrubbery, landscaping is a bondable item. All, curbs, the sidewalks, it shouldn't be the taxpayer to pick up the cost on that. It's their
Well, the taxpayer
responsibility.
wouldn't pick up the cost. We're not going to pay to improve or replace shrubs on Total Wine's
The
property.
question is right now, if all of these escrows get sent back, there is no escrow money to pay for any, if the borough has to do anything to go after that, there's nothing
But I
in
believe
it.
the maintenance bond is for public improvements, not what's on the private. But
No, they're bondable items. Total Wine, everything on those properties right
I
now.
won't read the land use law, but it's supposed to be for
Why
public.
don't we have it explored?
The shrubbery is a
Bondable item?
bondable, I only know that because I work for a surety, and
Yeah, they're
I
bondable
promise you,
items.
there was a day where I went out on a development and inspected every tree as part of the
They're bondable.
discovery process. So, I was out there looking at them.
So we need an opinion on this because we seem to have four.
I think Alan wants to release this escrow.
I want to release these. These are stale escrow accounts that have been on the years for
You know, I don't think we,
Total Wine,
6 years.
when did they close out? They must have released the performance
They
bond.
closed out, again, this is maybe 6 months ago.
So they still have a year and a half on maintenance bond. I think you have to
Yes.
look at,
Mr. Costa is not signing off that all of his professional fees have been paid, so I'm reluctant to release them until he tells me, as we do with all the other professionals, that, yes, my final billings are in.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You can release the escrow.
Take a look at the land use law and take a look at
I
the.
will, but I think, it's the maintenance bond, and I agree, it should be in the developer's agreement. It's escrow now, you signed off, it's converted to the maintenance bond.
No, this is to pay anybody to follow up.
What I'm saying is, I
Yes,
don't think I
but-
can legitimately charge that fee
It's not
to this
free.
account.
But
I
what
mean,
then
you
what do you
could-
charge it to? So the taxpayers have to make sure that
The
the shrub
mayor's
doesn't.
suggestion is correct, and I think we've written the board about this.
But no, I think-
That the developer's agreement needs to be modified.
but you
at
don't-
that time.
if I'm the developer, I don't necessarily need to pay you to come out every 6 months to make sure my shrubs are there. So as the borough's concerned, it's when the maintenance bond's going to expire.
So
So-
who does it?
Well, as I said, you would do it, and then at that point, you'd have to have escrow, but, you don't need to be doing ongoing inspections.
I'm not saying I'm gonna go there every day, but then who in the borough would go down to look after this?
Because if it were something like a shrubbery, where there's dead shrubbery, somehow it would fall under property maintenance, and they would go out.
So
But if it's a release of a bond, I mean,
But it's a-
but then when they want to, it's no different than getting a CO. Once you want to release that maintenance bond, they would rightfully have to have you go
I would say
and sign every
after
form.
that, I agree.
Yeah.
But right now, the performance bond has now morphed into a maintenance bond. And the maintenance bond is to take care of all the performance bond items that were constructed and bonded for. Sewers, storm sewers, catch basins, curbs, parking lots, striping, all of the above, lighting, landscaping, any erosion, soil erosion, those are all bondable, and that falls under the
Are there
maintenance.
still ongoing issues with these ones that Alan mentioned?
The only reason I'm saying total line, because the county called me up last week. I had to meet Christos and Tom Connolly out there because of some issues going on that the county isn't happy about. And I basically said, this is your problem, not the borough's problem.
Yeshiva?
Yeshiva was supposed to issue an as-built survey for the bollards. They still haven't done that.
But that wasn't part of their,
I don't know if it was part of that or not. And there's some lighting that's missing on the yeshiva. There's a lighting
but
station.
that's valid, so, and I think that Mr. Costa has to tell each applicant where they're deficient, and then,
Please send me a copy of your letter to
Sure.
Yeshiva.
Absolutely.
and are we okay with the lights, say Ducci's, is that the one that was, the one that took forever?
That's up. That's
No,
that's signed off.
there's no more issues over on that.
No, no.
That was one.
I actually wasn't involved. The only thing I got involved was the light, because Mr. Berman handled all of the...
No, but that was the only other developer issue that I was aware of.
That's it.
So you'll get.
Yeah, it's only one or two, I think, right
I
now?
had three, that.
Three?
What was the total balance of those escrows?
I think one was $8.
Yeah, Yeshiva was
We're holding on to it,
$6
because
and,
that could make the difference.
$6.32.
No, it's not from the.
Four one is
Yeah.
$1,137.45 for Main Street.
You're not saying I'm doing this for
$60.
No. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not.
not at all.
But
I'm
Mr.
not
Costa,
doing it.
I don't believe there's a mechanism, well, Mr. Woodbury, you'd have to write a letter if you want them to add additional escrow. If that's not sufficient to cover. He said there's
Well, let's
low
look to
balance.
see, if it is the case, then, and if we can't do it, we'll certainly sign off immediately. And then in the future, I guess we need to look at this a little
I'm
closer.
having deja vu on this. I think we've already written a planning board attorney. I'm not saying it's the latest one, but I think it's an attorney to modify the developer's agreements to include different type of funding available for future inspections or something like that. So, but I don't think anything ever came of it.
Okay, let's,
But I'll bring that
Remind
up.
our current.
Yeah, maybe it should be
attorney
taken
to
up
do it.
again, that's it. I'll dig that out.
And item 3, Cherry Blossom Park drainage.
we sent a design out last week. I believe they're due on Friday. Four contractors, because obviously it's going to be under 17,000. So we sent it to 4 contractors, just waiting for the quotes.
So we'll have a recommendation by the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Well, we have a resolution on to free up funding for it. Do we have to wait till the next meeting in order for the work to begin?
Yes, we have to see what those quotes are and whether funds are available for these quotes. I'd like to.
I guess just a PO you would have to issue, right? You wouldn't need a contract, just a...
Yeah, we could do a
well,
purchase
technically it's
order.
a contract. but
What is the design?
What we went over at the sewer subcommittee meeting was an inlet, and then piping it into the existing drainage system.
Simple.
Simple.
I think then the council, if they want to give Mr. Costa or Alan direction, that if the quotes come in under the amount we allocated, then to let him issue this PO.
I would be comfortable with that. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Easy.
Yes, like it.
Yeah, Mr. Costa?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Go on Forest, stay off the Kindergarten.
That's right. Go through parameters.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Sending sewers up the summit next. Kim, we'll do from Costa's house south, right? I don't have a report at this time. We have nothing for our information. Unfinished business. River Edge Senior Community Center. I believe the council want to just give a general update.
We met with our architects last week. We reviewed 2 schemes. We gave directives to the architect to pursue the larger scheme because it made more sense planning-wise and design-wise, and eventually expense-wise as well. We also gave him direction to develop a more detailed cost estimate, and as well as develop elevations. That is what this thing is going to look like. also they're known as elevations. And we did schedule a follow-up meeting on September 7th, before the September meeting,
It'll be before the work session in September.
the work session of September. So that hopefully we'll be in a position to, at that point, bring the entire council in and finally reveal what we have been working on for the past year.
And have the,
And yes, we still have a covered porch,
have
Good.
the, have the architect.
Not big.
the,
but it is what it is. It's a porch. End of report.
Okay. Any update on issues regarding the Shade Tree Commission?
No.
Do we have any other unfinished business? Anyone? Just a couple points. It's come up a few times. I did get confirmation from Mr. Chakowski, the planning board attorney, that it's his opinion that we had a defective process for adopting the historic element of the master plan. We're going to redo it. He's working on getting that in motion. Hopefully we'll take care of that in September.
And that'll be the planning board document.
Yes. There were issues with the notice, and some notices were not done, and some were not done
That's,
per,
I'm having a deja vu all over
Okay.
the case with this one.
I think,
So
well,
we're on the same boat.
it'll be addressed.
Okay.
It should not be an issue. I mentioned this a couple times already, and maybe Councilman Canego wants to bring it back to the Historic Commission. I mean, Mr. Bartoloni wants to get involved, because it sort of involves 4th of July. Kept saying next year is an important year for River Edge. It's going to be our 375th anniversary as a settlement, and 175th as a 25 the town, or anyway, it's a multiple of 25. 125.
125 as River.
Yes, and 325 as a settlement. So I was hoping that we would get some, maybe get an ad hoc committee together and start maybe planning some events next year to highlight those important milestones we're reaching. I'm hoping maybe next year with the 4th of July celebrations, we certainly can maybe do some things down at Newbridge. They're, all things going as they hope, perhaps they'll have their museum even have broken ground by next year. So it might be, we had talked about maybe having fireworks, maybe that's a place where we can actually have a fireworks display. Or we can have other kind of events. I just think, I said the timeline is here for next year, and I think it's something we should take advantage of, given our pretty significant history in the borough and our role in the country itself. So I know I spoke to the commission, and they all seem very enthusiastic to try to do something. There's more creative minds than I to figure out what that would entail, but I think we can probably do, you know, several little events or something. Just as Councilman Bartoloni regarding our ongoing review of our agreement with the Board of Ed, if we have any,
Don't have any updates as of right now. I am working on a draft that hopefully I can circulate and give our attorney review. Just been away the last couple of weeks, so
and I
getting back into work mode.
I saw the backhoes out there. I don't know whether they moved any dirt yet, but I know
They-
they're starting to.
They did. I went by today, and it looked like the clay was down, and the topsoil was going to be spread probably. They spread some of it, but it looks like most of it will be spread by tomorrow. Yeah.
Any more unfinished business?
Mayor, in regards to our relationship with BOEs, we spent a little over $1,700 to remove a tree from Riverdale High School. I'm wondering if the council should have been, Alan's, I emailed Alan, he emailed everyone back, whether the council should be, consulted for approval of work of this type, and whether we should consider what sort of a relationship we want to have with the Riverdale school system, because when I found out about this from Superintendent John Lynch, he was just informing me of it, and I said, well, how did this occur? And he said, well, I was directed to do it, and I said, well, this is not something I'm aware of, and I said, well, how does this process work? And he wasn't able to really speak to that. And I think it's something that we as council should discuss, because that's a substantial amount of money. And in the future, I think that the council should decide whether we want to make those sort of expenditures.
And I think the council should be careful about what they wish for,
Yeah.
because it's not just trimming a tree. There's a long past history of quid pro quos, at least between the big house, allow me to call it that,
Sure.
and this body.
Mhm.
And I think we both enjoy an excellent relationship, and we certainly don't want to know any more than we really have to. We don't want to do the school business, and we don't want the school to do our business. What has been going on is more out of convenience from the school end as well as from the town end. We don't see bills for services the Superintendent Fletcher and the Board of Education authorizes on behalf of the board, or on behalf of, for the council. So if we're going to start playing Scrooge and watch every penny,
I think
we
there's
have to
a-
be careful.
I think there's a compromise here. I think if we can come up with a dollar amount, and if it's,
Something, so that we're being responsible.
at least that we're informed of it. Would that be fair, Councilman? If we,
We're being responsible because we're getting an equal, if not
I know,
more
but
services out
I
of the
just think
school,
from a,
which I'm not too sure the school does the same with our friends to the north
I
of the
don't
Midland Avenue.
disagree with you, but I understand the councilman's point was that maybe there should be at least some direction to Alan and department heads as to what they can.
Look, I made my comments, we should be careful what we wish
Yes,
for.
and I said I'm entirely agreeing with you, but I also can see, but it doesn't, yes, so maybe, we can discuss with Alan whether there's a.
Yeah, I just think it's something we should look into.
Twice in your tenure, yeah, so.
Is that fair way of kind of-
Yeah. No problem with our performance services. I just hope our neighbors to the north are as generous. That's all.
Maybe they're not as generous with your neighbors.
And, we can't control what they do, we know that, so, and I don't want to ruin our relationships, but again, we also have an obligation to at least monitor as to what the expenditures are, so I can see that change.
Right.
Any other new business? Can I have a motion over the public, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're open to the public. If anybody has any questions or comments, any topic you like, we will also, when we go into our public meeting, we'll have another opportunity to hear them. Yes. Well, we're actually going to have a public hearing with regard to that ordinance, if that's what you're going to be here for. Yes, and just speaking to the microphone, name and address.
Cindy
so-
Patry, 243 Vanson Drive. I'm also a member of the library board. So I guess I'm a little bit confused as to the sequence of events still with the structure for the senior center.
It's not a senior center, it's a community center.
Okay, so, and that even brings my question more to the front then, I think, because I understand that it's been worked on for a year, so I'm a little confused, because I would think in most cases, in my opinion, form follows function. So you need to know exactly what the function is before you come up with the form. It seems like you're doing it opposite, and it's a little confusing to me, because I know the stakeholders have not been called in yet. So I just wanted to have a little bit more of an
The
understanding
stakeholders were interviewed at the beginning of the process. The former mayor made that a very important point when we started the process.
Was the library brought into that?
Everybody was given written surveys. We got responses back because we reviewed them as to what needs were and space requirements that we necessarily can't figure out all the operational details at this point. We weren't even sure how it was going to be constructed. That all has just come together last 6 months or so, when the architect looked at various scenarios and said, no, these are the best options for you to consider. And that's what we are now. The other thing we're very cautious about is coming up, and I've said this many times, we need something that's going to be functional and something that can be buildable and something that we can afford. So there's no sense of us coming up with grand plans and rolling out, you know, this grand design of something where we know we'll never be able to pay for it, and it'll never get built. That's where we are now. Right now, the councilman alluded to it. We're at a point with the size where we're not sure what the budget's going to be, and we really do need to know a very, very tight number on that, because that will be the go, no-go for that scenario. If it doesn't work, then we have to look at other alternatives, and that can open up the whole process again. So we want to make sure we have a well-thought-out plan, one that we can pay for, and one that's not going to be a white elephant when we come to it. So that's where.
I truly understand all of that, and I appreciate the thoughtful process that's gone into it. I'm just still a little bit confused if you're looking at something that's possibly going to be attached to the library, why there hasn't been more of a discussion with the library board about it.
Because it's not a library building. It will be a separate building that just happens to be next to the library.
Is that, okay, that's not what I had heard. I heard an attachment to the library.
It's not the library.
But it's an attachment on the library.
It's physically attached, but it's not part of the library.
Okay, so meaning that there's not a passage that's open between the two, they're not open at the same time?
It seems to me we're in a court of law.
No, that has not been.
I mean,
No, let me find. No,
Not
that
because you're
we
trying
haven't.
to get an understanding
Yes,
of what
and
the
no,
structure
you're
is.
owed that.
question.
You're owed that explanation. We haven't figured that, whether that will come in when we discuss the library as to how we're going to wind up programming the space. And whether is it going to be, for lack of a better term, rec-dominated, or is it going to be, say, library-dominated, or is there a mix between the two? You're correct. The seniors will have a significant use of the building. They're here during the day, Monday to Friday. So you're not going to have school groups, you're not going to have other groups necessarily there during the school days. So during the day, the seniors will probably be the largest users of that facility. After that, I don't know whether we've really decided. Again, it's going to ultimately depend on the size of building we can build, whether it winds up being essentially a meeting room, or does it become a multi-purpose room? You know, I always refrain from calling it a community center, because that conjures up different things to different people. It's not a gymnasium. It's not going to have, it's not going to be massively expansive. I mean, it's not what people usually think in their mind when you hear community center. Is that a fair assessment, Councilman? I think that's.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. You're doing
And
fine.
when we know we have I'm sorry?
I didn't say anything. You're doing fine.
Okay. Make sure I'm not contradicting you.
No.
And then we will, if we come to a program that we think is something we're going to present to the council, and we can go forward to it, we can get input as to how it will be programmed.
Okay, one other question. When you did the survey information, are you saying that these went to individual people?
I don't recall how the
citizens, or was
mayor-
it groups, or, because I
It
don't...
was, I believe it was open to the public, but it was also sent to various groups.
I'll go back to Darren after that, because I truly don't remember seeing anything about this.
There was a survey that I could appreciate.
I'm not
I was
disputing
not
that,
involved,
it's
the
just-
former mayor had led that. It was an appropriate first step. Obviously, it was basically initially to see what kind of interest there was in us pursuing this kind of concept, what kind of activities would such a facility, hold interest to the public, and it was more of that nature.
I think I can safely say that the building in the two configurations that we've looked at won't interfere in any way, shape, or form with the library's functioning and and will supplement the library.
Mhm.
I know, obviously, the library's been looking at a meeting room.
No, a multi-purpose room.
Yeah, but, well, a multipurpose room.
Mhm.
Both configurations would serve and meet the needs of that, and beyond.
Well, you
So-
understand, that's why we have a real interest in this, because we're moving forward, or we'd like to move forward with the multi-purpose room, so we're trying to get an understanding of the community center, what that's going to give to the community, so we can work in
And I
tandem
agree, but I
to
think
give more to the community.
Once we have our concept, we'll know whether, and you'll know whether this facility will meet what your expectations are, and then that can lead to whether we do further improvements in the library separately, or are those incorporated into the
But we're
facility?
trying to figure that out, so that whatever we do with the multi-purpose room, it's going to enhance whatever is being done
Yes,
otherwise.
and
We don't want to be at
want
odds, it's a waste of money, clearly. But that's why we've been asking so much about what is going on, so that we
And,
can.
and we're not trying to be secretive, we just don't have those answers yet until we have concrete, and I said, I don't want to come out with a plan that's not something we can, go forward with,
So you're basically saying that you have a general idea of, I'm just trying, so I can go back to my board, so I can understand.
they're firming up the numbers, he's doing some more detailed drawings, so the council, or hopefully will have that information by September work
September
session.
work
not by the
session.
intention. And maybe we'll even, I don't know, plan with the big architect, you know, how we're gonna do that.
I think so.
But
So the plan then was that you have the initial idea from the community, the feedback that you initially got, now you're looking to see how much can you accommodate within the space that you have, and how much money you have, and
Yes.
from that determine in the end what parts of those desires and wants from the community you're going to be able to.
yes,
Correct.
and the stickiest part is trying to, I said, the programming, because as you're acknowledging, libraries are evolving in terms of programming that they've been doing.
Absolutely.
And so, obviously, we want to make sure that's taken into account, but also, give the recreation department, their part, and also, because obviously, they're gonna have to have a large part in the programming of this also, and also the seniors, because part of the genesis of this is that, although the temple has been very, very good to us over the years, that's $20,000 a year that we pay to rent that space, which we don't necessarily won't have to anymore. We'll have a dedicated space for our seniors and I said, essentially, they'll probably have run of the house for 5 days a week, as far as I can see.
And that's a big constituency of the library as well. We do a lot
And
of
again,
work
so
with
I think there's all opportunity for synergy here. We're not trying to work against the library, and I think when we come up with a plan, it's gonna be something that's gonna be, very beneficial on a lot of fronts.
We hope so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And, I'm sorry, no, one more, I was okay, one more thing. There was one other thing, I know the trustees had expressed concerns about the parking. There will be adequate parking. The Belt Library will have the same number of spaces as it does now, at least.
For the library
and-
itself.
For the library itself. I mean, they're still working on the configuration for the parking, but obviously, based on the timing, there should be sufficient parking for.
Yeah, I think there would be adequate parking, and I mean, it's kind of oxymoronic, but I am tentatively excited to see how the library will
Because if
program
you
this
want a
building once it's
visual, I
done,
mean-
because I think everybody's going to be, I think pleased. I really do. I think we'll be pleased with it. So.
We hope.
I'm not going to take too long. I'm Debbie Richin. I live at 12 Jordan Drive. I'm the president of the Millbrook Village Townhouse Association. So I met with Alan a week ago with our management company, and I came here to the meeting just to represent the townhouses. I didn't know you were doing that in closed session.
We reviewed that. Will you get in touch with?
We'll be meeting, so I can talk to you about the size of the council.
Okay. All right. So we'll hear
Set up
from
a
you
meeting.
soon. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And afterwards, if you have any other comments or questions, we certainly could talk about it more. But hopefully, we'll be able to come to a, I think we'll have a, I expect we'll have a good, I think you'll be, I hope you'll be satisfied with the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Charles Costa. I'm a resident, live at 2 Cherry Mews. I've lived there for 21 years. And I'm here representing myself and some of my neighbors, the ones I know. The other ones are all new, they just moved in. So I'm representing myself, Mr. Henry Neckfield at number 1, Doris Wagner at number 3, and John Yu at number 4. And we're here, or I'm here, representing them with regard to the access to the school at the end of the cul-de-sac. When we first moved in here, that was a nice quiet cul-de-sac. Kids used to have their basketball courts out there in the yard and the cul-de-sac and whatnot. But in 13, I believe it was 2013, the town decided to construct their town nursery at the end of the cul-de-sac. And in doing that, they cleared that out and they removed an 8-foot stockade fence that was there that separated the back of the cul-de-sac from the school property. Now, the first couple of years that wasn't too much of a problem, but the last 2 years it's become very hectic in that cul-de-sac. People in the morning dropping their children off to school, zipping with their minivans and SUVs in and out of that cul-de-sac. A lot of near misses. My neighbor, in fact, Mr. McHugh, actually had a little fender bender there trying to get into his driveway. It's been a problem, and it's getting worse. Now, more importantly than our request for replacing that fence is the fact that it's dangerous. We have that access to the school from behind there, and now this past year was very hectic. Every year it seems to be getting more and more people realize that there's an opening there, and they use it. Now they've made it quite a nice path going through there. The other problem, and the biggest problem, is the safety issue. I'm retired. I spend a lot of time around my yard, and I've seen so many near misses on Hallam Avenue. There's no crosswalk there. And you have women with children in strollers trying to zip across that street and avoid the traffic, and unescorted children doing the same thing. I have more than once have been in my yard and at my yard, and I've heard brakes and looked up, and someone has to stop short. These kids running back and forth across the street. So it's everyone east of us down the hill. Cherry Mews is 1 block behind the school. I've taken some photos today, so that more readily see what I'm talking about.
The 2 issues. One, I mean, we can have the police cars dropping off. The cut-through is a little different because technically that section that fronts on Cherry Mews is not borough property. It actually belongs to that house on the left. So there's nothing to prevent that person from putting a fence up.
Well, that gentleman did put a fence up. It lasted about 2 days because the kids or whoever just trampled it down. I noticed that was put up again, and the same thing occurred a couple of days later. And the gentleman that bought that house, they only just moved in there probably 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. And it hasn't been vacant for almost a year. It was, I think the banks had it. It was back and forth in foreclosure. So there was no man's land back there. So the people took advantage of.
Sorry, which house? Where are you? Are you on?
I'm on the corner of Cherry Mews and Howell.
Okay, so you're at the other end.
I'm at the other end.
Because that whole strip in front of the fence where the trees are, you know, that is all private property. It belongs to those 2 houses on the cul-de-sac.
Well, how does
Our
the
property
town-
line is the fence line.
So your property line, the town property, is the fence line
Back.
and back.
Yes.
And to the left of that fence
That,
is town.
it's only
To the right of
town.
that fence is, to the right though of that is.
Once you get past the fence line, it's ours. But if you extended the projection of that fence line across, that's still private property in front. That opening you're showing, you'd have to go through the private property to get into the
Really?
park.
See, now that only being within, say, 6 feet of that fence post, of the town fence post, which is where the pathway is, as you can see. And that is still, that's the gentleman's property number 7 then.
I mean,
think he's aware
you know,
of that.
we can discuss with the
Probably.
council. I mean, I don't know if we put a fence necessarily, but maybe we can consider plantings or something.
I have an alternative, an alternative measure might be for less than $300, because I looked into it. I could have the nursery dump about 4 to 5 yards of topsoil and actually build a berm through there. And the town with their garden next door can put some things into it. Berm would be about 4 feet high, roughly, by 5 feet wide, and it would extend about 10, 12 feet across there.
I'd
About
still be
5 yards of
concerned
topsoil is all you need.
that kids would still try to climb over that. What I would
People
suggest
with
is
strollers
maybe,
would, that's possible.
what I would suggest is that maybe Council Pepperell, his liaison to the Beautification Committee and the DPW, he can meet with those groups. I'd like to get their input on how we can address your concerns, but also keep it as a park. I guess that's what we're looking to.
Well, the fence that was there 20 years ago wasn't anyone's fence.
That I don't know. I just know this has come
It
up.
was it's all wooded, and there was about an 8-foot stockade fence across there. But when the town came in to build that nursery, they tore all that out.
That's our property, so, I mean, that's what I said.
But they didn't replace the fence.
Well, if it was on that property, I can't speak to what was done or wasn't done with the park, but, again, I don't know whether a fence is the answer, or that would be the.
So it would have to be blocked, the access would have to be blocked, and other than
Yes,
a
but I
fence
think
or a
we
berm, I
might be
don't know
able
what it would
to,
be.
I just said, there might be other ways to do it without, maybe it ultimately is a fence, I don't know, but.
I'm sorry?
Maybe it ultimately may be a fence, I don't know, but I would like to have Beautification Committee and DPW and rec too.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's not an access point because we're not allowed, we should not have public access to a private property anyway, so it's not a matter of us, we shouldn't be encouraging people to cut through that way anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening, and of course, it's gotten worse and worse. The traffic, as I said, is one matter. That's more than an inconvenience to everyone on that street. And of course, they just abandon their cars wherever they can find a spot, in the middle of the street, in front of people's driveways, anywhere, while they go into the school and retrieve their children.
But I think
the worst part is the children coming out of that,
I think I'll
crossing
be about
houses.
that, and I think, Councilman Bartolo could bring it back to the chief, as the police liaison, that, we maybe need a station officer down there to direct people to go up to the corner.
Well, in the interim-
Not cross.
That's precisely what I
When
was
the
going
school
to
started,
suggest.
you don't want them crossing across Howland.
In the interim, we'd like to request that we could get a patrol car there in the morning for a half hour when school comes in, and in the afternoon about 2:30, 2:40 when school gets out. It's about a half hour to keep a patrol car there to let the people know that that's not an access until we resolve the issue somehow.
I
And of
think
course,
there's
we
two
have the
issues.
safety
Not-
issue.
That's an access, but you shouldn't be crossing there. We shouldn't be trying to encourage people to cross there either, regardless. So I think between the chief will certainly.
It's just a matter of time before someone gets hit by a
Well,
car.
it's
crossing
time,
an alley.
school starting,
Children.
it's obviously we have the time now is the time to, address those issues, so.
Mhm.
And I'm sure,
Yeah,
we'll-
over that first week of school, perhaps I think there's usually one or two, well, there's always one officer out there in the morning.
There's never been anyone there.
No, in front of,
No,
the
in front of
school.
the
School, yeah.
Yeah, at the
Next block up,
crossing,
there's a
but
crosswalk at the traffic light.
but
and
maybe
there's a
that officer
school guard or an
can-
officer.
walk a little
Or
bit around
somebody
the
else
corner.
around.
Unless, unless you start to put a car out there, you're just gonna have people back and forth.
I will let the chief decide what the best way for.
But I'll speak to that.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that. When would we have an answer on that, so we can know? And in the interim, we're
Well,
going
I'm
to
gonna give
count
you
for
my,
a car
I'm
there.
gonna give you my card before you leave, and you can call me directly with updates of what we're doing and not doing. My cell phone number's on it. And I'm going to hopefully meet with Mr. Lynch on Wednesday and discuss it. Superintendent of DPW, and then I'll coordinate with Councilwoman Bastide and Rec, and I'll also speak to, I'm sending a text message right now to the superintendent, see if he can meet with me on Wednesday. And hopefully I could give you some information about what we're thinking about without committing the council to anything
Mhm.
by the end of this week or the end of next week.
And I think I will, just send an email to the superintendent of schools also, just so they can tell the parents that, you are crossing through private property there, and you should not be coming through there.
In the interim, can we get have an officer stationed at the back of that cul-de-sac for a half hour in the morning and a half hour after school?
Can't
Well,
promise.
he'll speak to the chief.
Yeah, I'll speak to the chief. I can't promise that in terms
I'm
of
sure the chief
manpower and things
will
like that.
understand your concern, and he'll be able to decide how he thinks it's best for us to address it.
All right, very good. You might want to consider the berm. Aesthetically, that may be...
I'm not, I just,
I mean, just
Yes,
as
we're
an
not there-
alternative to a fence
Mhm.
of whatever type you decide to put up. Right now, it's just a chain link fence around the nursery. But aesthetically, a berm, a 4-foot or 5-foot berm across there would
So
solve it.
my email is also on that card.
Mhm.
If you want to email me what you mean by a berm, because I can't visually.
Pile of dirt.
Yeah, no, I mean, but is it rounded?
Well, you would
If
dump
you
earth.
have some sort of
Yeah, I mean-
visual or drawing of what you mean, that you've looked towards, so that I have some idea what I'm going to be talking to the superintendent about.
I think John
And
would-
you don't.
John would show you exactly what
He knows where
we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
And
Because to me, it just sounds like they would run up the berm and down.
well,
the
you
berm.
would have to put, you would either supplement it with trees and plants around it too.
Again, you'd have to put some shrubs or plants on that
Now they
berm.
would run through.
Well, maybe if it's holly bushes.
But I think we'll, but I think we can come up with an acceptable resolution.
Yeah, I'm not against it, I just want to be able to speak intelligently about what you're suggesting.
Claymores.
Your ideas. But in any case, text me, call me. If I can't call you back immediately, I will get back to you in 24 hours.
And I'll have,
So you just want me to give you an update and essentially...
I mean, when's our first meeting in September?
September 5th.
It's Probably our second.
Well, if you
meeting
want to
in
leave
September.
your email with Councilman Bartoloni, so
Yeah,
when he
he
speaks with
wouldn't
the
be
chief, he
able to
can
contact.
communicate with you on that issue, all right? That-
But I will speak to the chief, I promise.
All right, very good.
So he'll give you
I'll
his email.
down.
so-
Okay, I'll get out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak now? Again, I said we will have opportunities when we get into the public meeting. Have a motion to adjourn work session, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Charles, your last name's Costa, C-O-S-T-A?
All right, I'll get that one.
You ready to start up again? Oh, we got the forms? We're gonna wait 2 minutes. You missed the time because I realized I was clicking the pen once and somebody told me that's all they heard was the pen clicking. So I try not to do that too. Anyway, are we ready to start again? Welcome, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council, Tuesday, August 15, 2017. Can I please ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer and ask that we remember Annette Altamura, the wife of Ezio Altamura, our risk consultant. Ms. Altamura passed away last week at the age of 55, and our thoughts are with him and his family. Deputy Clerk, please lead us in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law, of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. I'd like to remind all members of the public that we have 3 fire exits in our council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Roll call, please.
Councilman Atchison.
Present.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Bastu. Here. Councilman Diego.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. Councilman Papaleo.
Here?
Mayor Hill.
Here. Can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council regular meeting and work session of July 11, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 1 proclamation this evening. Do we have any senior citizens in the audience to accept it? Councilwoman? Wow.
Everybody's at a tough night. Everybody take a few steps away from the mayor.
59.
Why is that?
Yeah, please, better to send me that card when I was 55.
I got my name in the mail.
Professional.
Whereas on August 19, 1988, President of the United States Ronald Reagan declared August 21st, 1988 as National Senior Citizens Day, and whereas this observance was established in honor of senior citizens in the United States who have made positive contributions in their communities, and whereas this day was also created to bring awareness of social, health, and economic issues that affect senior citizens. And whereas with improved health care and more years of productivity, many older Americans are embarking on second careers, giving the younger generation a fine example of responsibility, competence, and determination. Whereas here in the Borough River Edge, senior citizens serve a vital role as productive members of our community. Not only do we serve our seniors, but our seniors serve us. Many River Edge senior citizens serve our community as volunteers on advisory committees and independent boards and commissions. We have seniors on our Recreation Commission, Green Team, Planning Board, Traffic and Safety Committee, Library Board, Beautification Committee, Fire Department, Citizens Budget Committee, Environmental Commission, and SCORE, Police Auxiliary, and Revis, just to name a few. Now therefore be it resolved that I, as Mayor of the Borough of River Edge, do hereby proclaim August 21st as Senior Citizens Day in River Edge, and ask that all River Edge residents honor our local senior citizens for their long and full lives and for their contribution to the successes of our community, of which you are one, Councilwoman. So,
He's speaking.
I know he is, and he should be very honored that I am even sitting here.
and you know I am every time.
And still on the ambulance corps 43 years later.
So anyway, we will present this on
I
behalf of...
don't want to know.
Well, no, you can give a big support. You
deserve it.
Sure, I didn't even have a diploma.
That's right.
No problem, thank you.
Next year, no senior citizens
I just want a little respect.
Yeah.
I thought that was very respectful the way that is.
Well, we should definitely move on.
So, anyway, can we have a motion open to the public for any comments?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is to comment on any specific agenda items, I guess, I'd like to speak. But again, there will be a separate public hearing on that ordinance for the Alliance. No?
Stephanie Hartman, 144 Monroe Avenue. Thank you, my agenda.
Claudia O'Neill, 911 Boulder Road.
So this is in reference to the ordinance to establish Municipal Alliance Against Substance Abuse Committee. And just as a little background, well, obviously I'm a resident, but I have also been a Municipal Alliance chairperson, and I actually now work for the county office that oversees all the municipal alliances. And I think that Claudia and I sort of inadvertently made this happen. We spoke to the mayor about somebody who had expressed interest in becoming the chairperson. Right now the chairperson does an excellent job, but you know, sometimes people like to rotate and get involved in other things, and so there was a discussion as to how do people get appointed to the alliance and become a chairperson. I think that's how this ordinance sort of came about, because there was no historical data as to how does anybody become an alliance chair. So we thank the mayor for all his time and effort, and I believe Alan have probably had a lot as well, looking through, and perhaps Judy was looking through past paperwork as well, so thank you all for that. And so in just looking through the ordinance, there are a few issues with it that go kind of incongruous with the actual grant that it addresses, so I wanted to speak to that. And so I don't know if everybody has it in front of them, or okay. So on page 2, D, where it says the borough administrator or his designee shall serve as alliance coordinator. So all of the municipal alliances can have, they all have to have a chairperson. They all can have a coordinator. They cannot be the same people. but a coordinator is a stipended position. And that's how the grant is set up. So you can have that stipend come from a cash match, or it can be up to 15% of your grant, but a coordinator can't be an unstipended position.
Well, we,
So,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah.
So in the language in here, it says that there's no compensation for anyone. And so if you want to appoint somebody to be the coordinator, and you stipend it out of, whether it be out of their salary or, that then could be attributed to cash match, or if it come out of the grant, both have to then have the backup for it.
That was our intent, because Mr. Negrian has performed that.
Yes, so that's
And
fine.
that's how we did it that way, so he would, and he agreed to continue to serve in that role.
Okay, so the other is, when and if the ordinance gets adopted, you're starting a new, it runs July to June, the grant. And so any changes that you make, and this ordinance would, be adopted and affected immediately, have to be approved. So it may be a little chicken and egg, because if it's not an approved modification, then you can't actually do the stipend. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the other is, right below that, you have the term of people is January 1 to December 31st.
Yep.
And while the committee may, be the same people over, a series of years, you're reappointing a committee in the middle of a grant. And so people may come in and have different ideas of how they want to effectively utilize those funds, and they may not even have the ability to do that, or it can sort of upend the plan that has gone on for the past 6 months. So
This is the most logistical, simplest way we can do it, meaning that we could have written in staggered terms, more than 1 year, but from a administrative perspective, that would have been much more onerous on the clerk staff. So I pulled these from other ordinances where they've done it the same way. Basically, your point is taken. The people are probably going to just roll over with the appointments, but since we have our reorg in January, when we do our appointments, it just made more sense to, if somebody was to resign during the year or something, you can certainly make an appointment for the balance of the year, so that would not necessarily be an issue.
okay, so I guess in part then it would be, when you're appointing somebody, they should really understand that for 6 months out of the year, they may not be able to really effectively control the plan of the grant. Because this is tied to a grant that runs, so your plan cannot, there are
There was nothing in the
mechanisms to
statute that
modify
said you
that.
had to appoint people on that kind of a basis.
I'm just pointing
No,
out
I know.
a difficulty when you're appointing people, and so that's just something to be considered. So then, going on to the next page where it says compensation, members of the committee shall serve without compensation. And then it says the alliance coordinator or his designee shall receive no compensation. And it goes back to the coordinator in and of itself, that means it's a compensated position. So that would have to change. The other members don't have to receive, but an alliance coordinator is a compensated position, whether you do it out of your cash match, whether it becomes part of your budget, whether you do it out of the grant, it's a compensated position.
Counselor, do you want to, or does it not?
Can you just strike the sentence?
Yeah, I don't think that would be.
Yeah, that, or you could just put, the alliance coordinator shall receive compensation for his duties, and you'd be able to set the stipend as you set your whole salary structure. Or you could just take it out and set the stipend when you set the remaining structure of all your.
Well, we're doing it as essentially as an in-kind service, because we're going to have a borough employee perform that.
I understand. So then you just remove the entire sentence.
You don't have to specifically say you're going to require compensation, as long as you're showing for the grant purposes they're receiving compensation.
Right, correct. And just to, again, you know, it's a nuance of the grant, but you have in there that if the funds are towards the operation of the committee, you may establish guidelines and whatnot. The borough could approve the compensation, but that doesn't mean the grant is going to approve the reimbursement of that compensation.
Yes, but I think,
I
agree with that.
again, I'm just, you know what I mean, I just
And
want.
we also know that our grant is very limited in dollar amount anyway.
Correct.
So we're not looking to.
Right, you're not
give stipends and things
anticipating
like
that. I just,
And
you
we have
know.
no money to expend on the things you want.
Right, so again, it's just to, you know, for people to really understand what is gonna go into it, or what they can and cannot do. And then under the bylaws, and of course you can adopt them annually, I mean, I would adopt them once and amend them as needed, but that's, but you have, that you're gonna meet once a month. And I would just say, having had the experience of doing it, I would put it as the least restrictive instead of the most that you would have.
That came out of a statute. I have to go back, because I didn't make that language up. I got
Okay,
that from
well,
statute,
the grant
so,
only requires
yeah.
4 times a year,
Mhm.
so I would put it as the least restrictive, not the most, just so that the committee can meet every month, but I don't know if you would want to put that into an ordinance.
Well, it also comes to how we notice it, because this committee is going to be subject to Open Public Meetings Act and
Right.
Open Public Records. And we do publish the schedule of meetings in January for the year. So it's easier to have more meetings and cancel them than to have less meetings and have to advertise to add meetings.
Okay,
No, so generally, it's easier to say, and you can say there's no quorum or there's no agenda and not have a meeting, but at least then you can have it if you wanted to, as opposed to the other way around. If you decided we really should meet next month to continue this, and then you have to go through public notice and advertising it and doing all that.
Okay, so under functions, you have the Alliance Committee in consultation with what is referred to as the LACATA.
Yep.
Are you sending representation to that meeting? Because that's an oversight committee meeting. They don't actually like set any
And
policy.
that was told right from the statute, all these conditions, that's how this.
Well, they're conditions of the grant, but they're not necessarily something you would want in an ordinance of the committee.
Well, these
because
were
then
in
they-
the ordinances that, places that had ordinances, so so we're just following the same format.
I was going to say that.
So-
Doesn't mean they did theirs right.
Sorry?
I said, doesn't mean they did theirs, you know, appropriately either, but I'm just giving feedback, and under E, where the committee shall be responsible for, you have 2 and 3 are functions of law enforcement and the school district, and I would hesitate to make that a function of the committee.
And that's the statute language. all those
Especially in
conditions.
putting that developing procedures for intervention, referral for treatment, and discipline. That is not a function of the committee. I don't think the police would appreciate that either.
Mr. Sarlo, can we remove those?
It's at your discretion. I mean, if it's, we can look at the statute too, though. The statute is saying this is a responsibility of the committee.
Can you word it so that it's?
I
You-
think
you
it's
can't
right
be
out-
in conflict.
this is literally out of the
You
statute.
can't be in conflict
I
with the state
understand that, but
statute.
if there's a way to word it so as though
Well, then
it's.
you'll be in conflict with the state statute. That's
But
what
if we're silent, the statute always takes precedent, and if we remain silent,
you're choosing and picking which responsibilities
Is there,
that you're putting in where the statute has additional.
but regardless of what we put in our ordinance, the statute takes precedent. If the statute changes, then the ordinance automatically is changed.
The concern is the committee does not have that responsibility to do that.
I see.
But the statute says they do have that responsibility, and that therein lies the problem.
No, I get it.
Can you say the committee's responsibilities may include, or you have to, or does that change the statute?
Mayor, can you have the ordinance table?
the municipal committee shall be responsible for, that's the language of the statute.
And then there, on the second to last page, there's just 2 typos. On reporting, it says no less than semi-annually, and it should be to the Borough Council. It's just missing the word to.
Which one are you on?
Reporting A. No less than
Yes,
semi.
okay.
And then in B, the Alliance Coordinator, you have Paul, it should be shall.
Shall, yes.
And it's actually submit to the it's actually the County Alliance Office. You don't actually ever submit directly to the Governor's Council. You only ever submit to the county. Because the county reimburses you, and then the state reimburses the county.
Did you note those changes?
The last one is the coordinator shall submit to the Governor's Council. That's
But you
up to the county.
actually submit to the County Alliance Office. You don't submit directly to the Governor's Council.
Yeah, but that's part of the statute again. That municipal
Well,
alliance shall
yeah.
keep records and provide information to the Governor's Council as required. So again, this just came right out of the Administrative Code. So again, this is all.
Yeah, I'm taking another look at it, but I mean, you know, again, we're mirroring the state statute when redrafting this.
I mean, ultimately, it goes to the governors, because that's the enabling authority of the
Well,
statute.
Not exactly, because if
Well, it is the
it
enabling of the
doesn't get
statute.
signed off on the county office, it doesn't go to the Governor's Council. So they're not an overriding authority. You can't directly go around the county office to the Governor's Council. You can't apply for the funds without the county office, and you can't get reimbursed without the county office. So there may be a lot of language in here that that doesn't mirror the actual administration of the grant. And so if you're making something, I just want, you know, not everybody in this room is going to be sitting here 5 years from now. Sorry, I didn't mean it in that way. Maybe you all. You're all going to be in retirement. But, you know, different people are going to come on and off, and they're going to read this, and so they should really understand the process as it is.
And how about we just change Governor's Council to the appropriate authority or something to that effect?
Yep.
If I have a question, do you want me to reserve it for the open public?
We can do it now if you want.
So, someone explain to me what's different between this ordinance that we're looking at and the committee that Mrs. Hartman was chairperson of previously and Mrs. Papalayo was chairperson of now.
We never had an enabling ordinance,
Okay.
simple as that.
Okay, that's fine.
And there was no appointing authority in any resolution, and that's why we
Which is why it was
decided.
essentially a committee of one.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
that's not-
we
that's
looked
not
over the years, and there
accurate.
have been times where
Practice.
other people appointed.
That's actually not accurate, right?
Yeah, no, there have been times where other people were appointed, but it was
But in
never.
practice,
In practice,
that's what
that's-
happens.
Yes, but this gives us the framework to make sure that it's an actual operating,
And I support that, I think.
and that's why, yeah, so
So thank
I
you.
think
So,
this is.
Thank you.
I was going to say, in the past, the chairperson was appointed, and the committee was volunteer without
But that's
having.
not allowed under statute either. The statute says you need to have this kind of process, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe it's time for a second reading. They're minor changes, so.
That's
you
what-
can
that's
adopt
right,
with the
yeah,
changes.
so as long as we're-
We can go through the process.
Anybody else have any comments or questions on a specific agenda item? There'll be another opportunity to address the council at the end of the meeting. Motion to close to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of personnel changes. Can we have a motion to approve the salary change of Carol Byrne, records clerk, from an annual step 1 salary of $35,493 to step 2, $37,465, effective August 17, 2017.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I please have a motion to approve the salary change of Matthew Jung, part-time police dispatcher, and hourly step 1 rate of $19.35 to step 2, $20.42, effective August 17, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A motion, please, to approve the salary change of Michael Schultes, patrol officer, from an annual salary of $129,185.60 to $131,577.93 due to an increase in longevity from 8% to 10% effective August 1st, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approve the salary change of Craig Casey, sergeant in the police department, from an annual salary of $139,520.26 to $142,103.97 due to an increase in longevity from 8 to 10% effective August 1, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approve the salary change of Deborah Aiello, police department secretary, from an annual salary of $48,213 to $48,693 due to an increase in longevity from $1,920 to $2,400 effective August 5th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion, please, to approve the hire of Matthew Liu as a library page, 9 hours per week at an hourly rate of $8.44 effective August 8th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approve the retirement of Robert Naperstek, lieutenant in the police department, effective September 1, 2017.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think we all would be opposed in theory.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, add, at the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, approve the hire of Edwin Alter as part-time land use tax assessor clerk at an hourly B-scale probationary rate of $16, 25 to 29 hours per week, with the 6-month probationary period effective August 16, 2017.
For a second?
Name?
Edwin.
Edwin Alter.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? In the agenda, there's a list of various correspondence that's available for review through the clerk's office if anyone is so interested. We also have monthly reports from the tax collector for June 2017, Historic Commission for June, and fire prevention for the period of April through June 2017. We have one ordinance on for first reading this evening. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 1722 by title, please.
Ordinance 1722, an ordinance appropriating $479,000 from the general capital fund balance for the supplemental funding for the undertaking of various improvements to the River Edge Senior Community Center.
And essentially, we're just reappropriating previously approved funding that we hope eventually will go towards funding this community building that we hope to build shortly. And this is just an ordinance allowing us to aggregate remaining funding from old ordinances. Can I please have a motion to adopt this on first reading?
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Aquafetta?
Yes.
Councilman Bartolo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steve?
Yes.
Councilman Canito?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
And this ordinance will appear for second reading at a future meeting. 3 ordinances on for second reading this evening. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 17-19 by title.
Ordinance 17-19, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of radio equipment in, by, and for the borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $24,700 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bonds anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Simply put, purchase radios for the fire department. Can I please have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 1719?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would any member of the public like to make a comment, ask a question, or state an opinion with regard to ordinance 1719? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I please have a motion to adopt ordinance 1719?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Aquafredo.
Yes.
Councilman Bartolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Castillo.
Yes.
Councilman Canito.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Capoeira.
Yes.
It's so adopted. Ordinance 17-20, Madam Clerk, please read by title.
Ordinance 17-20, bond ordinance to amend section 4 of the bond ordinance number 1762 entitled Bond Ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology equipment, and a new communication and signal system equipment in, by, and for the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $158,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of issuance of such bonds, adopted April 16, 2012.
And this is to amend ordinance 1762 to fund the purchase of thermal imaging cameras and chargers for the fire department. The whole amount of $158,000 is not going for those items. We're just having, we have to technically amend the ordinance to purchase that specific equipment under that ordinance. So, can I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 1720?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any member of the public have any questions, comments regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 17-20, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Aquafredo.
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Yes.
Councilwoman Castillo.
Yes.
Councilman Canito.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Capoeira.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 1721, Madam Clerk, please read by title.
Ordinance 1721, ordinance to establish Chapter 63 Municipal Alliance Against Substance Abuse Committee.
Can I please have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any more comments, questions regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1721?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Aquafredo.
As amended.
As amended, with the notations.
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Canito.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Capoeira.
Yes.
It is adopted. Resolutions by consent. In the agenda, we have resolutions listed 17-272 through resolution 17-295. Does any member of council wish to pull for separate consideration or vote one of those? Yes.
I just a point of clarification, Mr. Negrian was kind enough for 17272 to provide an explanation of the cancel of the grant fund. I was wondering if you would do so for the benefit of the council, why we were canceling the grant.
Well, the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017, so there was a small balance remaining, and we're not permitted to expend beyond the end of the fiscal year. It was a minor amount considering the 9,000 plus amount of the grant that was awarded to us.
Thank you, Ron.
You want a separate vote? or you just
Nope,
want-
I just wanted just the benefit of
Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions by consent?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Bartoloni, please read and move resolution 17-296, payment of bills.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $4,319,298.47. Capital account, $82,149.83. Recreation account, $16,151.80. Animal welfare account, $5.40. self-insurance account, $6,958.20. Trust other account, $39,469.01. Open space account, $10,759.52. Trust other developers account, $4,699.91. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, have a motion to open the hearing to the public again?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the final opportunity, folks. Questions, comments? Yes.
Not about the library.
You about the library, whatever?
Citizen, Cindy Cochran, 243 Van Pond Drive. So I've been living in River Edge in that part of town since 1997, I believe, the end of 1997. And for any Saturday where at first my young children didn't wake me up, and now of late my younger cat didn't wake me up, I've been woken up by the garbage truck coming at approximately 6:30 in my area. I'm a light sleeper, and I'm woken up anytime that I get to sleep past that 6:30. So I'm just wondering, you know, I completely get that there has to be a schedule, and you don't want to be rocking that, having things changing every week or every year or anything, but it's been a long time since that part of town gets very early pickup on Saturday. Has there ever been any discussion about changing that around? I don't know if anybody else hears it or not, but I know that I'm woken up often.
We don't have the discretion to change the routes. That's at the discretion of the vendor. I'd have to go back and check the contract. The contract does have hours of operation which they can operate. I don't know whether that includes Saturday, because obviously we only do that during the summer. So we have to look at where our contract language is. I think, Mr. Saul will be correct me if I'm wrong, I think if we ask them to start a little later, I think we would probably get some accommodation. I don't think, you know, asking them to come after 7 or something would certainly throw off their route, but ultimately we'll be guided by the contract language. But I still think if we make the request generally, you know, they'll try to accommodate us.
And do they also decide, because it's not the whole town that's collected on Saturday, right, when it's 2 times a week in different parts of town? Do they also decide which part of town then is?
No, I think the districts have been set
years
ago, and by the contract also. So it's you know, we're Tuesday, Friday where I am. I don't think that's changed, and I don't think we'd be able to change that routinely, you know, based on contract. Obviously, the hauler wants to have a reliable and predictable schedule to themselves.
Sure, I get that. But it's 1997, it's a long time to be woken up on my precious sleep on a weekend.
I mean, we have made the request in the past too, is that they sort of reverse the loops. Again, it's hard to mandate them to do it. Usually when we ask them, they do try to do it for a while. But the new drivers come in or whatever, they may not necessarily adhere to it. And certainly we can ask them again. So basically, you know, I've said this because people said to me, how come I always have to be at the end of the day? Well, somebody always has to be at the end of the day. But we can also ask them every other time, maybe you can just flip the route around, so those people are now, you know, picked up in the morning.
Just for some reason, I do see on Wednesday, there seems to, that does not always seem to be early in the morning. Sometimes, at least for a period of time, that was much later.
Well, I noticed that by me, they come late on Tuesdays, but they come very early on Fridays. And that's.
If it was a Friday, I wouldn't mind as much.
Well, yeah, we're usually up, but we can certainly.
Okay, well, anything that could be done, I would appreciate it.
Mrs. Earl can give the contract language, and then we can reach out to somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Does the Boy Scout have any questions it wants to ask? Sure.
Name and address.
Yes, you have to give me your address. And am I gonna have to remember the days?
There you go. My name's Edward Mignon, Louis Mignon.
Address.
244 Concord Drive. With the community center, where's it going to be built? Because it's surrounded by the Memorial Garden, tennis court, then you also got a parking lot, and then a street.
Very good question. And that's why we've hired the expert to look at that. The plan we're looking at, again, is going to be built off the library, taking basically the far 1/3 of the existing parking lot. That's where we're, I'm sorry?
There's a
Over the existing parking lot.
Oh. So where you,
The former American Legion building would necessarily be demolished. Depending on the parking scheme, there may or may not be parking in that area. That might just be a grassed area. Those are some of the final details we're trying to work out.
Mayor, just to follow up on that, if you look on the side of the library where there's a door and steps right now, that'll give you a pretty good idea as to like kind of where the center of that building would be.
okay.
The center of the building will
And
line up with
extends
that
back.
door.
That's- Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Council comments, Council Canigo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Naparstek for his 30 years of service and wish him well in retirement. Last month, a couple of people retired or resigned from the volunteer fire department, David Stuckey and Rena, I hope I don't mispronounce this, Mishori. We didn't thank them for their service at the time, so I'd just like to take a moment to thank them for their service. Thanks.
Councilman Davis.
I also would like to thank Lieutenant Naparstek. I think since it's been 70-some-odd years that we've had a Naparstek in the police department in the town of River Edge.
His grandfather was chief.
His grandfather was chief, his father was a lieutenant, and his uncle, I don't know what title his uncle.
Police officer.
He was a
Chubby?
Chubby.
Police officer.
Yeah. So, it's a tremendous loss to both the department and to the town of River Edge. He was a hard-working professional who never got caught up in any of the minutiae going on. He just did his job, and I think it's a tremendous loss to all of us. No health department meeting this month, and we had the farmers market today. Same people come every week and thoroughly enjoy it, and the farmer does great, the smoker does great, and today, Tuesdays, from 2 to 7. So, and as far as the fire department, they've done a good job with helping Suez out, and all of the hydrants are back in service, and also the police department has done a great job with all that's going on Kinderconnect Road. First-hand view of all of it. That's it.
Councilman Aquafina.
Receiving this has reminded me that I've been here since 1987. And that now I'm on the other side of the ledger, on the proverbial back nine. A lot of things have happened in River Edge since we moved in, and a lot of things will happen in River Edge on the coming years, which makes this a very dynamic town, and a town that we can all be proud to live in, and us to serve on your behalf. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council President Pepperell.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'd like to join with the rest of the council in thanking Lieutenant Naparstek, as well as our 2 firefighters who have retired. Beautification continues to work throughout the town. I think they're doing a great job. Shade Tree did not meet during July and will not be meeting in August. They will have a meeting in September, and I've been in contact with different residents who are going to be coming to that meeting, so it's very productive. I want to thank Liz for responding to these residents' concerns, and as well as the Shade Tree as a whole. I want to thank Beautification for all they're doing. The DPW continues to work hard. We've had 4 trucks that we reviewed with the committee, and for sewer vacuuming, and I know that John is continuing to meet with the committee and will be coming to the council in January with, I think, probably a very well thought out recommendation in regard to that piece of equipment. And that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Thank you, Mayor. I also just want to thank Lieutenant Naprosek for his service over the last 30 years. It's a tremendous loss to the department, losing someone of his qualifications, his skill, his passion from the job. He will be missed. In terms of just everything else going on, hopefully I am excited about the community center or meeting center, however we want to label it. But I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be an excellent addition to the borough when it is completed. So just everybody give us a little bit of patience. We are working hard, I promise, and we do have all the constituent groups in mind when we were thinking and conceiving of the building. And other than that, there's a couple weeks left of summer, so enjoy before we all get in full swing come September.
Councilwoman Bastido?
Thank you. I will add the last thank you for Lieutenant Naprosek for his 30 years of service. Truly valuable member of the force who will be terribly missed. I wish him the best, and to his family also. I'd like to thank the residents of River Edge for their patience over the last week and in the coming weeks for the work being done on Kinderconnect Road, and the business owners. They've been inconvenienced, but as the mayor mentioned in one of his posts, there's never a great time to do this, but the improvement will be worth it, I believe, in the long run. So thank you to all the residents and the business owners for their patience during this time. I would just like to acknowledge the River Edge Swim Club swim team, the Rockets, had another undefeated season. And they also came in second in the county league tournament. So congratulations to the coaches and the swim team and the swim club for a great season. The only other comment I will make is I'm going to share with the council an email that I received from a resident. The gist of her email is encouraging the council to harness social media as a communication tool for a coordinated message with its residents. And we did pass a social media policy in 2016, which provided the borough and its departments, committees, and commissions with that framework. So I just want to share this. I told her I would share this with you. And I know that Mr. Negrian will be working hard to see that we can see a coordinated social media message in the near future through the efforts of the resources we have. So, and that's it. Thank you.
I will also add my my congratulations to Lieutenant Naprosek. 30 years is a long time, and being the son of a police officer, I know what it's like when someone's in the job that long, and his retirement is well earned. We know that. We'll miss him. He'll be a big loss to the department, but 30 years is quite a career, and coming from such a renowned family in River Edge police history, you know, he will be certainly missed. Also, I will also extend my thanks to excuse me, the volunteer firefighters who have given their time and their talents to the borough. We appreciate all their efforts. Regard to social media, yes, we've been talking about trying to upgrade technology for a number of years. And, you know, one of the things that maybe the general public doesn't understand, and we all get caught up a lot when people talk about budgets and taxes. Well, when we're trying to hold the tax rates down, things that aren't absolutely necessary are the first things that get cut from the budget. Hence, technology has suffered. We've not been able to invest in certain things. we've finally gotten to a point this year where we were able to invest enough money. So you will see an upgraded website. You will see us on local public access TV. We will have a Facebook presence. We are able to hire a part-time person who will be able to do those kind of that work for us. So hopefully by the end of this year, you'll see some of those things coming out, because we've all said it, that we need to make sure that people get the information that they want and that they deserve. And whatever media and whatever platform we can use to do that, I think the council is unanimous in wanting to do that, and I think we're working towards that end. I will also echo the councilwoman's comments regarding the residents' patience and understanding with what's been going on with Kinderkamak. That project was intended to start at least 4 years ago, maybe longer. Four. And all of a sudden, we got notification that it was happening within 2 weeks. And that's what triggered Suez to decide that they had to make some major upgrades before they paved. So we're all sort of at the tail end of all this. And despite that, and despite some glitches, I think between the fire department, our emergency management coordinator, our police chief, borough hall staff, they've done a very, very good job in trying to deal with a very changeable situation based on information that from the primary sources wasn't always accurate or complete. And I think with the worst is behind us. Based on what I've seen today, it looks like they're even ahead with their milling. They're probably halfway done. They've only done it for 2 days, so hopefully by the end of next week the milling will be done and paving hopefully will be done soon thereafter. Forgot to mention during work session, I was asked by the superintendent of schools to ask the council where last year they had a new family festival introduction at Memorial Park. It was very well received. The venue became a little crowded with the number of people we had at Memorial. So this year the PTOs have decided that they're going to still have the event, but they're going to have an event at Cherry Hill, simultaneously an event at Roosevelt. I've been asked to invite the council to attend either or both on the same night. I told them, Superintendent, I would speak. I said I can come in the beginning. There's Riverdale Middle School, I believe, was open house that night, and we have a planning board meeting. So I said between that, I will make sure I come. I will send a separate request to the departments who attended last year, because they asked if we can do that again. I did not promise that I can get 2 representatives, but maybe we can get some people to go one and then the other, but we'll do our best to get
Thursday
the 14th.
September.
And I thought it was a very good opportunity to meet some new residents, and it gives them a feel for not only the school, the school situation, but it also got them to meet town officials and our department heads. So, they weren't so they're not strangers to them.
What time is it?
I believe it starts at 6. There's also another event, annual event, on September 7th at 11 o'clock at Newbridge Landing. They have an annual actualization ceremony, where last year, I believe, we swore in 26 new citizens. I've been asked to speak. I don't know if you're around this year, Councilor, and you couldn't go last year. The 7th.
I think the 7th.
So let them know. And it was a very, very impressive and touching ceremony. I think if there were 25 people that sworn in, I think we had 20 different countries. It was really, really quite good. And it was also poignant because that was Kevin Wright's last speech, actually. I heard him give. I think he passed away 2 weeks after that. So it'll be a little melancholy, I think, with Kevin not being there, but I think the ceremony is something very important. I'm proud that we get to do that in River Edge. They don't have, they don't have to choose to come here, but we do get that. And then lastly, I would just like to offer congratulations to Bobby Conway. Her daughter Shannon had a baby, their first granddaughter, Bryn Grace. I know Bobby is very excited and thrilled over this, as I've been exchanging emails and other matters. So congratulations to her and her family. We wish little Bryn best wishes for a lifelong, long life, happiness, health, good wishes. That's all I have, so, anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. September 15th.